One man died, with a pistol in his hand. Another died, recording the wind. Only one lived, to tell how the Australian desert devours the arrogant and the blind. The sand does not just blow, it screams. A wall of crimson grit tears at the skin, until the pores weep blood. Robert fumbles with the wooden crate, his fingernails torn and caked with dried clay. The shovel strikes something hollow, not stone, not root. It is the sound of a coffin lid in a silent room. He falls to his knees, clawing at the earth like a starving animal. Under the roots of the giant coolabah tree, the dirt gives way. His fingers find the cold, smooth surface of a glass bottle. Inside, a scrap of paper flutters like a trapped moth. He does not read it. He looks at the campfire pits nearby. The ash is still gray. The charred wood is warm to the touch. They were here, his brothers, his lifelines. Only 9 hours separate the living from the dead. 9 hours since the last horse moved south. 9 hours since the water canteens clattered away into the shimmering heat of the wasteland. The desert swallows his cry. To his left, Wills collapses into the dust, his spectacles cracked and fogged by his own shallow, rattling breath. His ribs are visible through his shredded wool coat. They have crossed a continent to find a grave. The word carved into the bark above them glows in the moonlight. 3 letters. Dig. It is not an instruction. It is a sentence. He looks at his hands. They are black with rot. The seeds in his pocket feel like lead weights. He has eaten, yet his muscles are dissolving. His body is consuming itself. From within, far to the south, the dust settles over the tracks of the men who abandoned them. The silence of the Outback is absolute. It is the sound of a trap, snapping shut forever. He stares at the empty horizon where the rescue should be. He holds the bottle tight until the glass bites into his palm. How did the grand dream of an empire wither into this? The year is 1860. Melbourne is a city of gold and greed. 15,000 voices roar in the streets. They throw flowers under the heavy hooves of horses and the padded feet of camels. The sun glints off polished brass. Robert O'Hara Burke sits high in the saddle. He is a man of iron and ego. He wears the dark blue of the police force. His beard is a thick thicket of Irish pride. Behind him follows a caravan of madness. 20 tons of equipment grown on wooden axles. There are heavy oak tables for fine dining in the dust. There are cases of expensive claret and heavy rugs. It is a circus of Victorian vanity. They carry the weight of an empire on their backs. They believe the Australian wilderness will bow before their top hats and scientific instruments. Burke does not see the desert. He only sees the glory. He sees the map with the blank white center. He wants his name carved into that emptiness. William Wills follows him. He is the quiet shadow. He carries the sextant and the stars. The green hills of the coast fade into the rear view. The air begins to change. It becomes thin and dry. The lush grass turns to yellow straw. The horses begin to lather and foam under the growing heat. By the time they reach Cooper's Creek, the optimism has turned to sweat. The pace is too slow for Burke. His blood is too hot for patience. He decides to split the party into pieces. He leaves the bulk of the food behind. He leaves the safety of numbers. He takes only 4 men and enough rations for 12 weeks. He believes speed is his shield. He is wrong. The gate of the Outback swings open. The heat rises in shimmering waves of mercury. The red earth stretches toward the horizon, like a sea of dried blood. They cross the line, into the unknown. They leave the last footprints of civilization. The silence of the scrub is a heavy blanket. Every step north is a debt they cannot pay. They have walked past the point of no return. The sky is a bowl of white fire. The camels moan under the lash. Burke looks only forward. He does not look at the water barrels. He does not count the remaining bags of flour. He is chasing a ghost at the edge of the world. The Victorian dream is already starting to rot. The desert is patient. It has waited 1,000,000 years for men like these to arrive. Behind them, the camp at the creek grows small. The men left behind watch the dust settle. No one speaks. The wind begins to pick up the red sand. It covers their tracks before the sun sets. Far. The four men push through the salt marshes. The air is a thick soup of humidity and rot. They have reached the northern edge of the world. But there is no blue horizon. There is no triumph. To their front lies a wall of gray mangroves. The roots are like tangled snakes in the mud. The tide rises in silence. It smells of salt and ancient decay. The ocean is close, but it is invisible. They stand in the swamp. Their boots are ruined. Their skin is a map of insect bites and sunburn. Burke looks at the mud. He realizes the prize is a ghost. They cannot touch the sea. The monsoon rain begins to fall. It is not a cooling spray. It is a heavy, warm hammer. It turns the ground into a red sludge. The sky is the color of a bruised lung. They turn back. Every mile south is harder than the last. The supply bags are light. Their bellies are empty caves. The horses stumble. Their knees buckle on the rocks, one by one. The animals become meat and bone. Charles Gray is the first to break. He is caught in the shadows of the tent. His hands are white with stolen flour. The hunger has hollowed out his mind. He begs for mercy in a dry rasp. Burke does not offer mercy. He offers a heavy hand. He beats the man in the dirt. It is a sound of leather on wet clay. The others watch with hollow eyes. The unit is dead. Gray begins to fade. His skin turns the color of ash. He cannot hold his own weight. One morning, the breathing stops. There is no wind. There is only the sound of flies in the heat. They dig a grave in the hard scrub. Their shovels strike the earth with a dull clatter. They are too weak to cry. They bury a piece of their own survival. In that shallow hole, they leave him behind. The tall grass swallows the mound. They are 3 men now, 3 ghosts walking through a furnace. The weight of the equipment is gone. Only the weight of the end remains. The birds circle above. They are patient. They watch the staggered line of the survivors. Every step is a victory of will over bone. But the desert is wider than their strength. The sun sets in a streak of violent orange. The nights are cold enough to crack stones. They huddle together. They listen to the silence. It is the sound of an ending that has already begun. The desert is no longer a place. It is a predator. It breathes heat and exhales dust. The last of the camels is dead. Its meat is stringy and tastes of copper and old leather. They chew until their jaws ache. They reach the banks of the creek. There is water, but it is a cruel joke. Their bodies are failing. They find the Nardoo plant growing in the dry silt. The seeds are small and hard, like stones. They gather the seeds by the thousands. They crush them between flat rocks. The sound is a rhythmic scraping that fills the silence of the afternoon. It sounds like teeth grinding. In a fever dream, they bake the flour into small, gray cakes. They eat until their stomachs are full and heavy. But the hunger does not leave. It grows sharper. It feels like a serrated knife, twisting in their guts. Their muscles begin to melt away. The skin on their legs becomes translucent and pale. It bruises at the slightest touch. They are suffering from a starvation that wears the mask of a full belly. The Nardoo contains a hidden poison. It is an enzyme that destroys the soul of the body. It steals the vitamins from their blood. Without the secret of the fire and the wash, the seeds are lead. Burke tries to stand. His knees snap like dry twigs. He falls back into the dust. His eyes are wide and bloodshot. He screams at the empty sky, but his voice is only a thin whistle. Wills sits in the shade of a dead tree. He watches his hands. The fingernails are turning blue. He tries to write in his journal, but the pencil feels as heavy as a mountain. The physical decay is absolute. Their hair falls out in clumps. Their teeth loosen in their gums. They are becoming skeletons, wrapped in parchment. The sun watches them with a cold, yellow eye. They see the shadows of the Nardoo Wanda people in the distance. The tribesmen move like smoke through the scrub. They know the secret of the seed. They know how to live, where white men die. Burke refuses to beg. His pride is the only thing left that has not rotted. He watches the shadows disappear into the haze. He chooses the dignity of a corpse over the mercy of the wild. The madness begins to settle in. They hear voices in the wind. They see cities of gold in the heat waves. The desert floor is a mosaic of hallucinations. Reality has folded, like a burnt map. They are trapped in the Nardoo paradox. They are drowning in a sea of food that cannot feed them. Every meal is a funeral rite. Every bite brings them closer to the quiet of the sand. The nights are a long torture of shivering. They huddle together for a warmth that never comes. The stars above are cold diamonds. They are indifferent to the three men dying in the red heart of nothing. The end does not arrive with a roar. It comes as a soft, rhythmic scratching of lead on paper. William Wills sits alone in a shelter made of rotted branches. His legs are useless weights of bone and gray skin. He watches the sun crawl across the dirt floor. He is the last watchman of the expedition. Even as his heart falters, he tracks the temperature and the wind. He documents his own disappearance with the precision of a clock. His fingers are thin yellow claws. The ink is fading, but his mind remains a sharp blade in a broken sheath. He writes of his father. He writes of the hunger that has finally become a hollow piece. Outside, the world is a furnace of white light. Robert Burke and John King prepare for a final, desperate crawl. They seek the tribe that knows the secrets of the sand. They leave Wills behind in the silence. They do not say goodbye. The words are too heavy for their throats. Burke stumbles into the glare of the wasteland. He carries his pistol like a holy relic. His pride is a tattered flag fluttering in a storm. 2 days into the march, Burke collapses. The iron in his blood has turned to water. He cannot find the strength to lift his head from the burning clay. He knows the race is over. The desert has won. He speaks to King in a voice that sounds like grinding gravel. He asks to be left in the open. He does not want a hidden grave. He wants to face the sky that killed him. He demands his pistol be placed in his right hand. He wants the searchers to find a gentleman officer, not a victim. He dies under the midday sun. His eyes remain open, reflecting the endless, empty blue. King turns back alone. He crawls through the scrub like a wounded insect. He reaches the hut where he left the scientist. The air inside is still and smells of dry dust and old paper. Wills is gone. He lies on his side as if sleeping. The journal is tucked beneath his head. The last entry is a masterpiece of calm despair. He died as he lived, measuring the darkness until it swallowed him. King stands in the center of the camp. He is the only living thing in a kingdom of ghosts. He cries out, but there is no echo. The red earth absorbs every sound. The silence is final. The heat waves dance over the two bodies. One lies in the open, armed and defiant. The other lies in the shade, surrounded by facts and figures. Both are now part of the Australian silence. King begins to walk with no direction. He is a man without a country or a map. Behind him, the wind begins to blow the sand over the hut. It buries the journals and the dead in a single shroud. The silence of the creek is broken by the sound of bare feet on dry earth. John King is a phantom. His clothes have long since rotted into gray rags. His skin is the color of old mahogany, burnt by 1,000 suns. The Nardoo Wanda people find him huddled in the dust. They do not see a conqueror or a hero. They see a broken animal. They reach out with dark hands and offer the mercy of the ancient land. They feed him pounded seeds and fatty fish. They teach him to sit in the shade of the river red gums. For 3 months, the sole survivor of the great Victorian dream lives as a ghost among the living. In September of 1861, the world of iron and steam returns. A rescue party cuts through the scrub. They find a man who can barely speak his own tongue. He sits among the tribe, weeping. He is a walking shadow. He carries the leather-bound journals of William Wills like a sacred burden. The pages are dry and brittle. They contain the meticulous record of a slow and scientific suicide. The bodies of the leaders are recovered from the sand. They are brought back to the city that sent them away with music and flags. The funeral is grand. The monuments are tall. The brass statues shine. But the bronze cannot hide the truth of the failure. The expedition was a collision between arrogance and an indifferent continent. They brought heavy tables to a land that demanded humility. They brought pride to a desert. The legacy of Burke and Wills is written in the dust of the Outback. It is a story of a white center on a map that refused to be filled. The wilderness remains. It does not remember their names. John King returns to Melbourne, but he never truly leaves the creek. He dies 10 years later. His lungs are full of the red grit of the interior. He is the man who saw the end of the world. The journals survive in glass cases. They are the only remains of a dream that turned to bone. The words of Wills remain clear on the page. They are the steady pulse of a man watching the light fail. Australia remains a vast and silent judge. The crows still circle the coolabah trees. The wind still whispers through the Nardoo. It tells the story of the men who came to conquer and stayed to die. The map is now full of lines and names, but the heart of the land is still red and wild. It belongs to those who listen to the wind. It belongs to those who know when to dig and when to pray.